I turned to my husband for support after some bad news. He pointed out a blemish on my face in response. Is this a big enough straw to break the camel's back? We've been through a lot together. We met in college nearly 15 years ago, were long distance for a little while after graduation, and then we moved overseas together and back again. We now own a house, have some pets, are both gainfully employed, and have a wonderful time together. We're great together when times are good. We've been married for 7 years. The problem is that he's a really awful communicator, while I'm very open with how I'm feeling. I wear my heart on my sleeve, while he could keep what he's feeling inside indefinitely. This has always been hard to reconcile, but our problems really started about 2 years ago when we started talking about the subject of having children. I had serious doubts about my capacity for motherhood, but he wanted to be a father. When I would talk to him about my reservations or fears, he would usually just shut down and say, "Oh, let's not have kids then." He would never be on board for a deep discussion. I decided that my fears weren't enough to be a deal breaker, so we went ahead and started trying. We've had 3 miscarriages since then. The stress of first trying to conceive and then losing our pregnancies was immense. I turned to him countless times for support, and countless times I came away feeling like he was going through the motions, but there was nothing real behind them. I know it can be hard for some to grasp the pain of losing a pregnancy, but as my partner, I feel there was a serious lack of genuine sympathy when I was struggling and in pain. He would hug me, hold me, do everything that would make it look like he was by my side in this, but never seemed to really listen when I talked about it or converse about it with any depth. This year has been hard for me. It started out promising. I was pregnant again, and I was up for a promotion at work. I lost the pregnancy in the middle of January, and even though all signs pointed to the promotion working out, the position was eliminated after I had gone through 3 rounds of interviews to get it. I found out the position was eliminated officially yesterday. When he got home from work, I asked him for a hug, but instead, he started examining the skin around my mouth. He said, "Do you have herpes or something?" I have been breaking out in that area since the last miscarriage. It's a hormonal trouble spot for acne for me, and no matter what I do, nothing stops it right after a miscarriage. My hormones are just out of whack for a couple of months. So not only was I turned down for comfort after a long couple of months trying to get this promotion and finding out that it wasn't going to happen, but he pointed out a flaw on my face that happens to be a lasting side effect of another devastating loss. At first I was angry. I demanded an apology and gave him the cold shoulder after he gave me an insincere one. Then I let go of the anger and just felt so sad. Just incredibly, hopelessly sad. I cried all night long. He finally came to me and said he was sorry in a sincere way, and we hugged for a long time. But I couldn't talk to him. I just couldn't put myself in the position of telling him what I was going through and not really knowing he was there for me. After he left for work this morning, he called me and said he realizes that he needs to work on his communication and he's going to try harder. He also said that he wants to take a trip for our 15-year dating anniversary later this year, something that I've been talking about for almost a year now, but that he never seemed interested in up until now. I am left feeling like this is all just too little too late. I suggested marriage counseling about a year ago when I felt a major disconnect between us after our first 2 losses. He said he would go, but I never followed up and looked for a counselor. Now I feel like maybe it's just too late. I feel like my trust in him is shattered. Is this something that we can fix in counseling? Will his communication ever improve? Can I get over these feelings of bitterness? In the comments, VG360 says, "Give yourself time to mourn the miscarriage and to get over the disappointment about your job. You are grieving and hormonal. This is not the time to make any decisions about your marriage. Therapy sounds like a good idea, whether you stay together or not. Don't forget, as the one who was pushing for kids, he is also likely grieving. A lot of guys bottle up that kind of grief and try to look after their partners, but it's hard, and they do end up just going through the motions without having their mental health needs catered to." Paul Shark says, "Communication is something you can fix in counseling. Quote, I am left feeling like this is all just too little too late. Only you can decide if enough is enough. He did agree to attend counseling though. Ask him if it's too late to take him up on that offer. My husband and I still deal with the disconnect between my grief and his from our miscarriages. We had a great marriage counselor who helped me to acknowledge that I hadn't properly grieved and helped him to see the deeper level of loss I felt than he did. Recently, as I am pregnant again, things have resurfaced. He shared with me that he realizes he isn't affected by our losses nearly as much as I am, and that he struggles with feeling judged and shamed. He said he himself feels so conflicted when trying to comfort me, because he wonders what's wrong with him that he doesn't need comfort himself. I share all of this to say there is a chance your husband is struggling with his own unspoken fears and feelings. I absolutely recommend marriage counseling, but also I found great help in individual counseling. I identified my own depression and found a couple of groups, a depression group for women and a grief group. My husband could not be my sole source of comfort, and he shouldn't be. When my grandma died, I sought out comfort from many people aside from my family, and doing the same for the loss of my babies should have been handled the same way. Grieve your losses as you would any other, and give your husband in marriage a little break. OP says, "Thanks for your comment. I'm sorry for your losses, and I wish you the best with your new pregnancy. I have looked for support groups, but they are very poorly attended and really infrequent. I guess I should expand beyond pregnancy loss groups. Otherwise, I have had a hard time connecting with anyone in my life about my losses. My friends have all successfully carried to term without any losses. My mother feels that it's a matter of getting the right fertility treatment. I try to connect, but no one can relate. I rarely try talking to my husband about my losses anymore. As you know, it's just about the most isolating experience that one can have." Honestly, incredibly tough situation, that one, and it doesn't seem like there is any good answer that you can give OP in this instance, besides take the advice of the comments and go get counseling with your husband. I don't think it's too little too late personally, but I'm also not in your shoes, OP, so I can't particularly say that. But he did say yes to it and you didn't follow up. I think you should give him a chance and get a session together and see how that goes. And now, on to the update. Thank you so much to everyone who commented on my original post earlier this year. We got into counseling not too long after that post and have been continuing every week ever since. We just had a session yesterday. Our counselor is wonderful. She really understands the situation and has identified the struggle that my husband faces when confronted with an uncomfortable topic like our losses, stress at work, the decision to have children or not, and more. We have spent quite a long time discussing my husband's upbringing. His family isn't really big on communicating, and there are many problems that he and his siblings have had over the years, and continue to this day, that were never addressed and never resolved. In session, he talked about how he felt his emotional needs were never really met growing up, but that he didn't realize it up until now. It made me really sad for him. We had his parents over a few weeks ago, and as usual, the conversation remained really superficial and never delved into anything very substantial. I've tried to share with them about our life and our losses before, but there's never been any sign of interest from them in connecting with us in that way, even though his mother is one of the only people I know in my life who has suffered a loss as well. We spent the next week's session processing their visit, and unfortunately, my husband felt a lot of anger and frustration that he wasn't able to talk to them about the important stuff. However, in our relationship, things have completely transformed. We argue so much less, and he's completely present and there for me when I need his support. The topic of having children has come back up, and we're still figuring that out, but we can really talk about it and be open and honest with each other without fear and with respect and open arms for each other. He has repeatedly said that he's really happy we got into therapy and that he feels great about the state of our relationship. I'm almost happy that we've gone through such hard times so that we were able to hit rock bottom and get to this wonderful place. So thank you to everyone for your kindness and generosity in following our journey. In the comments, Think Before You Act says, "I remember your post and I was one of the commenters who didn't think that your husband could change. I'm really glad to hear that he's taken steps to improve your relationship. Keep on at it. He seemed so cold that it's a great surprise he's done such a turnaround. It sounds like he really does love you a lot. You also sound so much happier yourself. OP says, in that post, I glossed over his positive attributes to best convey my frustration at the situation, so he comes off as a cold, uncaring jerk. That's not who he is at heart, but how could you know that based on my short anecdote? And selfishly, it was validating to hear others agree with me that enough was enough. I still thank you for reading and giving your input. The Kitten Patrol says, I'm shocked to be honest. I was reading the whole first post going, this is who you want to have kids with? But this is a 5-month later update, not the normal, it's been a few weeks and we've had counseling and it's so much better already. So it feels like real growth and actually a thing likely to continue improving. I wish both OP and her husband luck. Also, if they do have kids, I feel way more hope that it will be a healthy environment for the kids to grow up in. Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I do think they've done a lot of work, there is a lot more work to go, but this is a very good update. I don't think OP should come back to share more of the story. I feel like just work on maintaining the relationship as it is, improving in the ways that have already worked, and trying not to fall too far back if and when there are more problems that come up in the future. Thank you for the story, and thank you for the update, OP. Our next post is by user ThrowRA Pasta Error, and it's titled, Am I the asshole for telling my dad and his fiancée how I really feel, sending my dad into a deep depression? I, 18 male, am an only child. I live with my mum full-time, my parents are divorced. For some quick context, during my entire life, my mum always picked up after me and my dad. They both worked full-time, but my mum handled breakfast, lunch, dinner, groceries, cleaning, and laundry. What did my dad do? He would mow the lawn, shovel snow, fix things like the sink if it ever broke. When I was younger, I always loved my dad because he would do fun things with me, like take me to sports games, play with me in the yard sometimes, buy me McDonald's or ice cream. He was the fun parent and my mum was the caring one. She always made me food, helped me in school, packed my bags, comforted me when I was sad, and took care of me when I was sick. When I got older, I started to realize more and more how much my mum did, while my dad would sit on the couch and watch TV or stuff like that. My mum asked me when I was quite young to help her out with cleaning, etc., and I remember I would get mad when she asked. I didn't want to clean. Who does? But one day after she had gotten annoyed that I didn't even pick up after myself, I yelled at her to leave me alone. I was probably like 12, and that day I heard her cry in the bathroom afterwards. When I realized I made her cry, it clicked in my head that she was doing everything for us and my dad barely did anything. And I did absolutely nothing at all. It felt like I grew up super quickly over the course of a week, and I started helping my mum a lot more. It became a bonding thing for us, talking and helping each other out with cleaning and groceries, etc. My dad was still like the fun parent, would take me to games and all that, but I grew more and more annoyed that he didn't help out at all. I think when I was like 14, I once said to his face that he never helps out around the house, and he got furious with me. He yelled in my face and sent me to my room. My mum comforted me and told me to just let him be. You and I got this alone anyway. The few times he was dragged into helping, he would always make a mess somehow, and it would end in an argument with him and mum. I've realized now he most likely did a bad job on purpose so we wouldn't ask him for help. When I was 15, mum found out that dad had cheated. He had been for like a year. They had the biggest fight ever, and my dad left us that night to live with his mistress and her daughter from a previous marriage. He came a few days after and picked up most of his stuff. I don't remember much how the divorce went, other than my mum being a wreck. When it was finalized, she honestly broke down even more. I fed her, helped her into the shower, held her at night. I've never seen her that bad, and if I didn't hate my dad for what he had done in general, I started absolutely despising him for what he did to mum. Family from mum's side would help us too, but it was mostly me since no one could really move in and stay with us full time. I picked up a job at 16 to help at home. It took my mum maybe half a year to start going back to her old self. She grew up to be better, happier, and I'd never seen her so full of life when she was with Dad. A month or two after the divorce was over, my dad started pushing for me to live with him 50% of the time. I told him to fuck off basically, but Mum said that I shouldn't shut him out completely. So I went to him every other weekend. He tried to be all nice to me, and so did his mistress, but I hated their guts. The mistress, let's call her Hannah, tried to be nice to me, but also boss me around, and I basically ignored her. She has a daughter from a previous marriage who tried to bond with me, but I ignored her too. Barely even a year after the divorce was over, Hannah got pregnant and they had another daughter. Dad and Hannah have tried to push for me to be a big brother for them, but I couldn't care less about them. Now I'm 18 and I gradually stopped going to my dad's. I barely ever stay a night. I just visit, and my dad keeps trying to blame my mum for it. Hannah gives me more and more attitude and tries to use her daughters to guilt me into staying over, saying they miss their big brother, you're so selfish. We had a big confrontation when I visited last. I stayed for 20 minutes before Hannah started trying to lecture me, so I just started leaving. Dad blocked my way and told me that I have to grow up and leave the past in the past. He said I can't be mad forever and I'm acting as if I don't love him and we're all family. That just set me off. I started screaming at him that I haven't loved him in years. I told him that he was always a lazy piece of shit who acted more like a child than a husband to Mum. She always cleaned up after him, cleaned the house alone, washed his clothes, made him food, fetched him another beer even though the kitchen was 5 steps away, but all that ever came out of his mouth was complaints and demands. I told him that he took me out to do fun things, sure, but that's not all there is to being a dad. He was never there for me, helped me in school, drove me anywhere or picked me up, comforted me, and then he did the worst thing possible. After years of standing on my mother's back and using her, he went and fucked a random woman and absolutely broke her. I'm referring to my mum. I screamed about how a kid had to pick up the pieces of his own mother because his father was such a piece of shit and useless garbage. I felt nothing for him. In fact, I hated his guts still, and I hated his mistress too. I turned to Hannah and told her that she means nothing to me, she has no authority over me, I don't give a shit about her or her kids. I told them both that I wish nothing bad at their daughters, but Hannah is a horrible person for filling her kids' heads with lies about how I'm their brother when I've repeatedly told them that I'm not. Then I looked my dad in the eyes and said, my father died to me years ago, and that man wasn't even a good dad. You're just a stranger to me. I pushed my way past him and I left. When I got home, I told my mum everything and cried. She hugged me and told me she understands my emotions, but wishes I wasn't so aggressive for my own sake. My mum has never said a bad thing about my dad, despite everything, and when I would curse him out, she always told me it wasn't worth it. My dad and his new family was silent for a few days, but then Hannah started bombarding me with texts about how I was a horrible person and how my dad hasn't stopped crying since. I know he always wanted a son and wanted a close bond, but he's failed me as a father and I don't care. But family from Hannah's side, that I've met like once or not at all, have also started messaging saying that I was out of line and everyone makes mistakes. But I don't think it is a mistake. I genuinely think my dad is a piece of shit and I don't owe him anything. But I guess all the hate from so many people has me doubting myself. Maybe I should have just left without a word. So yeah, am I the asshole here? In the comments, Different Leg says, not the asshole, OP. Your father created this mess and now he has to live with the consequences of his actions. I would block numbers of everyone who is supporting him as you don't need their negativity. I would also suggest counseling of some sort. Not for anyone else, but yourself. And I would tell his side piece and her flying monkeys that any further harassment from them will lead to you seeking a restraining order. Go no contact. He's a piece of shit you don't need to waste time on. Exactly. It's not your fault that the honest truth hurts him so much. Your dad can cry a river, but it won't change the fact that he was a terrible father and husband, and maybe he should be crying with shame. Not the asshole. You are not responsible for his feelings, but as a parent, he sure as shit is responsible for yours. Maybe you shouldn't have raised your voice, but it sounds like he never would have heard you otherwise. These are the consequences of his own actions. He's shown you how not to be a man. Take those lessons and build something better. I would encourage you not to cut off your little sisters completely, if only to show them that they can strive for better themselves. But maybe approach it in a way of, maybe you take them to the park, a movie, or ice cream every couple weeks, but make it clear that you're only there for them, not your useless father and his home-wrecking hua. But you are not responsible for the two jackasses' feelings or to appease their guilt. You're also not responsible for their children and are not obligated to be in their lives if you don't want to. However, you've seen how he's failed as a father and had to deal with the fallout of that yourself. I'm sure you've wished that there was some way to soften that blow for yourself. Maybe you can soften the blow for them when they're eventually let down by him. Oh, and block all of her family. They are nothing to do, and clearly are lunatics if they think it's acceptable to message a barely adult about family dynamics that they have no part of. Sorry, I'm old. You seem like a good kid with a good head on his shoulders, but 18 is still very young. Take what is helpful here and leave the rest. Good luck, kiddo, and keep your chin up. I agree with everything there, and it's always funny to me, and it's very much a sign that the other party is in the wrong when they have to launch the flying monkeys. They have to send the whole circus OP's way to try and convince them that having boundaries is actually not acceptable, and you need to do and say everything that the bad party here wants you to do, because it's your job. You're supposed to be a doormat. I love that OP had that outburst at him. It was a long time coming. His dad very much deserved it, and screw him. He ruined his relationship and his marriage. He's getting everything he deserves, not the asshole OP. And now, onto the update. I know it hasn't been long since I posted, but I quickly got so many not the assholes and people who agreed with me that I acted pretty fast. I wrote out a long text to my dad that looks like this. Hey Dad, I know what I said yesterday was very harsh, but I'm not apologizing for it. Growing up, you made it clear what a partner and husband shouldn't be. Even though Mum and you worked the same hours, you were always entitled to your alone time and your rest, while she was left to pick up after the whole family. I realized at a young age that Mum needed help, and every time I picked up your old socks or put your dishes away, I got more and more annoyed at what a lazy piece of shit you are. A 12-year-old did more housework than his father. Let that sink in. You went and did fun things with me. I acknowledge and did appreciate that, but that's not all there is to be a parent. I needed you other times, when I was sick, sad, stressed, needed help with homework, or even just talking to you. I know you always wanted a good father and son bond, but we never actually talked. Not small talk, proper conversations. I honestly felt like you don't even know who I truly am. But when I went with you anyway, you told me to go to Mum because you had a long day at work. I hope for your new daughter's sake that you start picking up your shit after yourself. I can't stand Hannah, but I somehow also hope that she doesn't get stuck in the loop of scrubbing your back and holding your spoon when you eat, never allowed to ask for a favor and rest. You need to tell her to get her family to stop harassing me about this, or I'm blocking all of you included. Hannah has no authority over me, and I have no respect for her because she slept with a married man. She also is not entitled to a relationship with me. I've always tried to be polite, but not welcoming, because I don't see her as anything other than your mistress. She needs to get that through her head. And like I said, I will never wish anything bad onto her daughters, but I am not their family. You filling their head with that bullshit is only causing them harm. Get that through your head. If you're unhappy in your marriage, you either try to work it out, go to therapy, or split on whatever terms. You don't cheat on your partner like a scumbag. It doesn't matter how you felt for Hannah and Mum at the time, you should have split with Mum before pursuing Hannah. I'm fucking 18 years old and even I know that. If the texts don't stop today, I'm blocking every last one of you. I'm already blocking Hannah's family, but I'm keeping you and her unblocked for whatever reason. This is not me forgiving you. I don't think we can work through this, because we can't. I'm not visiting you for a while, and if I ever want to again, it will be on my own terms. This is not up for negotiation, and again, if you try to pressure me or guilt trip me, I will literally just never speak to you again. I hope you go to therapy and get fully torn down so you can build yourself up to be someone worthy of respect. Because right now, you're not. Now leave me alone. After like 3 or 4 hours, Dad responded, "I understand," and nothing else. The random texts have stopped. I don't know. I feel sort of free, but also sad. I'm not burning the bridge fully, but I'm also done with their bullshit. So yeah, that's where I stand right now. Thanks for listening. In the comments, OK Midnight says, "You're doing what's right for you, not the asshole, and I'm proud of you. You're not responsible for how they react, only how you stand up for yourself. You've done that, and you deserve to be proud of your strength. Seriously, sometimes doing what's right for you feels heavy, but it's still the right move. Cutting through the guilt and setting boundaries takes guts. OP handled it like a pro. Healing isn't always pretty, but this is definitely a step towards peace. Honestly, OP, the way that you were able to articulate your feelings and thoughts so clearly and handle this situation while being freshly 18 is impressive. You showed more maturity than both adults, your cheating father and his homewrecker of a wife. You'll be okay without them from now on. I don't worry for you. It's time for you and your mum to enjoy some happiness too. You have a lot of beautiful things coming ahead. Your father, his mistress, and their failing family and marriage is not your issue to worry about anymore. Best of luck and take care of you." He shows incredible maturity because he was forced to grow up at far too young of an age. 12 years old, this poor kid was forced to realize his father was a piece of shit, and if there was going to be someone for his mother to rely on and not be sad, it had to be him. 12 years old, and he took on the emotional and physical burden of a husband or man of the house. The absolutely enormous burden he took on would make almost anyone into a very thoughtful, mature person for their age. It's so unfair, and I hope that otherwise, OP had a great childhood with his mother to make up for it. My guy deserves only the best. Absolutely, OP. You've done everything right here. You have a solidly titanium spine. I can't fault anything you've done. You are the standout example for what you need to do when faced with a deadbeat parent that is trying to bully you and using everyone around him to bully you as well to get what they want. That behavior is absolutely unacceptable, and I don't blame you in the slightest for cutting him off. If you ever do want a relationship with him in the future, I don't blame you for wanting that either, but definitely for now, give it some time. And if you ever want to, I urge you to let us know in the future how that goes. Thank you for the story, and thank you for the update. Our next post is by a deleted account, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for not wanting to be disinvited from a trip I planned? I, 27 female, planned a ski trip with my boyfriend, 29 male, and some of our friends. Mostly his friends. We booked in advance, told them about it, let them know they could come or not. We planned on bringing our computers to have a LAN party while we were there. My boyfriend and I gamed together, once a few people wanted to go. We were really excited. Recently, I learned as we arrived at someone's house to watch a game together as a group that I am not invited on the trip any longer because one of his friend's girlfriends wouldn't come due to work, and now it's going to be a guy's trip. I feel pretty hurt. I got upset and asked them what right they had to disinvite me from a trip that I planned and to basically make it no women allowed for some odd reason. We plan things all the time, and I attend. We share the same interests a lot of the time, so I'm confused and bothered by the implication that I'd be distracting, in the way, or make it less fun. They brushed it off. So they are going now, without me or anyone else with a vagina, I guess. My boyfriend feels torn. He's kind of a people pleaser and doesn't want to make waves. His friends say weird shit about women, and then say they're joking, but this makes me feel like they actually meant those things, and don't even think of me as a friend. Straw/back situation, as some other things have happened that were similar, but I brushed it off as my understanding at the time. Instead of also being their friend, I'm just their friend's girlfriend, which really hurts, because I've really been there for a lot of these guys and gone out of my way for them. For example, one of them projectile vomited in a bathroom at a friend's house everywhere and got embarrassed and didn't know how to clean it while drunk, so I cleaned it up for them. I've hosted at my house and always tried to make it fun. I don't understand. I told them that it was fucked up and I planned the trip, so they don't get to decide that. They basically acted like I was being emotional and just needed to get over it. I have refused to talk to some of them since then. Everyone's acting like I don't want them to go and do things, just the guys, and I'm being controlling. The narrative has been lost among our friends, and I'm being painted as a villain compared to other women who are cool with it. When actually, I don't give a shit. They go out all the time for guys' nights and guys' trips. I just want to enjoy the trip I planned, regardless of being a girl or not. I don't think telling them that I'm coming anyway would even do anything. I can't imagine going now, with how they clearly feel. That would be really awkward probably, but it's created a rift between my dude and his friends, and they are telling him that I'm being unreasonable and overreacting, and he's talking about not going and is really pissed at them, but doesn't want to ruin the friend group dynamic. I know I can just plan something else, but this sucks. Am I the asshole? In the comments, Punk Rock PM says, "Holy fuckballs, DTMFA and find a quality guy. I hope you haven't paid anything into this trip, and if you did, can you get it back? Did you make all the hotel arrangements, etc.? Cancel them. Maybe tell them that they are now uninvited from your trip. Nothing to understand here. It's them, not you. They sound like they are 12 selfish assholes. Stop making excuses for your boyfriend. He's a people pleaser? I'd think he'd want to please his girlfriend the most. And these other guys? Oh yes, they mean those comments. Trust me. And they do know how to clean up their own puke. Dump these guys already." Very Big Poro says, "Cancel everything you can that you've paid for, but don't tell them. They uninvited you, so it's logical that you cancel the bookings. This, absolutely don't tell them. They uninvite you, they can deal with all of the consequences of uninviting you. Fun fact, these misogynists are not your friends, and your boyfriend being a complacent people pleaser is a massive red flag. Not the asshole, run away." Interestingly, the people he wants to please don't include his girlfriend. Yeah, funny one that. I would take huge offense to being uninvited from the trip that I planned and not supported by my partner, who was benefiting from the trip, and not having him pushing back against the whole group going, "Hey guys, it's actually really messed up that you did this and butted in on my girlfriend's holiday like that. That's not gonna fly." But instead he's like, "Go on right ahead, walk all over me, walk all over my girlfriend. I'm enjoying this. I really like when you guys do this actually." I don't think OP should continue being in a relationship with this guy if he can so willfully disrespect her like that. And now, on to the update. Holy shit, I was not really even expecting any replies. I've been working a lot and just checked back in on this. I am totally overwhelmed by the support in this community. I really did expect to be the asshole in this situation. I'm reading through everything and really trying not to cry. I'll try to respond if I can. I realize the amount of people who actually see me as a friend has dropped drastically. Or it was always that way, and I'm just now seeing it. I feel much sadder about that than a stupid trip. The trip is just the piss icing on the shit cake. I'm not gonna dump my boyfriend. He deserves the time to try to talk to his friends and see if things can change. I've rescued myself from their friend group entirely at this point. He has said that if they continue to behave that way, that he will look for new friends. I believe him. I've had some shitty friends myself, as I was formerly part of a pretty terrible online community similar to Kiwi Farms. I just grew out of it when I realized, oh, they aren't kidding or trolling or whatever, they're just miserable assholes. Some of them changed though, and decided not to be shitheads. That's why we have kind of a frog in a boiling water situation. It feels so common to me because of the places that I grew up in and the online communities that I was a part of. I regret ever being a part of anything like that. I was just a lonely, depressed, and angry younger person. Even women can be radicalized in spaces meant to other men. I just understand, I guess. And I still miss those friends and wish they could let go of their hatefulness. I cancelled anything that I planned for the trip. I got my deposits back, so no harm done there. He's still going with them, to see if their friendship can be salvaged. We are planning a private trip for just the two of us afterwards. Thank you all so much for responding and taking the time and for the advice. I feel very lonely for real friends, but at least I know now where I stand. In the comments, this is quite possibly the worst update ever. He still went on the trip without you to salvage a friendship with people who clearly hate you, and you're gonna give him another chance? OP replies, the thing is, it became a friends trip for just them. I didn't want him to be the only person not there if those friendships were salvageable. I lost most of my good friends that I grew up with to drugs, the oil field, car accidents, suicide, and homicide, and then I moved away from the rest. I didn't want to put him through something similar or give an ultimatum. He has since stopped talking to most of them because they were being a bunch of see you next Tuesdays apparently. He plays games online with a handful, but the rest have been sloughed off in the past few weeks. They became more and more vocal and argumentative. So he sees how things really were. I think if I had reacted too strongly after the fact, he might have been taken in by their bullshit. Texas sucks, and I can't wait to move. And now, onto the final update. I thought they didn't care that I cancelled everything, but I found out they were actually really pissed because of how close it was to the trip dates compared to when I originally booked. They had to pay a lot more, had to split multiple thousands between them, adding up to an additional hundreds of dollars extra each at the last minute. They all hate me now, but I don't care at all. Guys, if you're reading this and recognize that it's you, stop grabbing women in nightclubs and pretending you don't understand that is sexual assault. Stop talking shit about the women who were nice enough to fuck you. Cottage cheese thighs, I think she's hotter since she started taking pills. You're scum. Stop judging our bodies while you're covered in dark, ingrown hairs, a receding hairline, and are insecure because you used to be short and then had steroid shots. It isn't our job to make you feel good about yourself while you trash us. Stop pretending to like people and then trash-talking them to others. Guess what? People talk. I know it all. Everything you said has come out. Stop pushing drinks on people that don't want them. Stop reminiscing about former flings and sexual escapades in front of people's spouses and girlfriends. Stop inviting people's ex-girlfriends around to start drama. Stop worshipping men who hate women. Stop saying women are emotional when men can't control their anger as a whole. You want to talk about self-control? Try it out yourself. Stop thinking you are good people. My dude doesn't even like you all anymore because you proved that it was never jokes. You almost convinced him that I was too sensitive and couldn't take a joke. I hope you enjoyed your ski trip. I hope it was worth his friendship. You lost the best person you could have had in your lives just because you think being an asshole is attractive. I just wanted to be your friend. Thanks for manipulating, gaslighting, and abandoning me instead. In the comments, Gigi Lily says, I'm curious about whether the other straws were things she was aware of, or if she found out recently because I was expecting it to be stupid jokes they made versus grabbing women in clubs and trying to force people to drink. This feels like a situation where she left because she realized she was not the exception to their fuckery versus realizing, hey, these people and her boyfriend are not good people. I'm glad she cancelled the reservations, but that ending makes me think she hadn't outgrown the miserable people stage as much as she thought she had. Exactly my read. She kept almost getting it, and then saying something like, I just wanted to be your friend, after listing a bunch of things that no one should stand for in their friends, like all the jokes about women that they'd been making all along. So, am I way off base here for wondering why OP was, at the very least, tolerant of all that shitty behavior up until they turned on her, but in reality she was very caring towards them? And curious how long she and her boyfriend would have stayed bros with them had they not tried to pull a fast one on her, and confused why she thinks her and her boyfriend are the good guys. This has huge, you didn't break up with me, I broke up with you vibes. Like if they hadn't disinvited her on her own trip, she and her boyfriend would have just kept hanging out with them? The only reason she's actually pissed is that they don't view her as an actual friend. Why the hell would you want to be friends with those people anyway? Oh, absolutely. What they did to random girls at the clubs was much worse than what they did to her with the trip thing. And that was okay because they were doing it to other women and not her? Anyone who associates with these pigs doesn't have much of a moral high ground either. And if she really did know that they were like this, I can't sympathize with her much. There's a few sayings that are reminiscent of situations like this. If you go into a bar full of armband-wearing people, and there's some people that don't wear those armbands, but they're cool with them, then really you have a whole bar of armband-wearing people, don't you? And maybe OP is the bird of the feather that flocks together with these people and hasn't grown up as much as she thought she did. Because condoning and kind of still caring for those people after all that time, knowing what they were doing to other women and still staying with your boyfriend and not really addressing it until you were othered, I don't know. It's a hard one. It makes me feel less sympathy for OP, that's for sure. I'm sorry you had to go through all of that, OP, but I hope you learn not to associate with people like this and to find a better crowd in the future that won't screw you over. Thank you for the story and thank you for the updates. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.